Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here again, and I know I have been promising to rank the X-Files chicks, but I need to actually sit down and do it. It's 11 seasons and 2 movies worth of characters that I'm going to have to go through, and then I'm going to have to probably film the video really early or something. So I'm still working on that. I have started to think about it though, so tomorrow will probably be, I'm going to try to push for Safi's American Horror Story Season 3 review, and then the next day will be my American Horror Story Season 4 review, which will be very, very fun. I can't wait to talk about that because, I don't know, it's fun to talk about for some reason. I like talking about these original, non-superhero, non-franchise things. Oh, I can't wait to talk about it. So I am here to actually do something surprising. So I was going to watch Wednesday season 1. I don't know if I will or won't watch that because I'm just kind of sick of, as I said, like franchise stuff. I'm sick of like teenage level crap. I just want to watch stuff that's made for adults, because I am one. And so I'm kind of sick of watching like stuff like Wednesday where, you have all these teenagers talking about it on Twitter and they're just all like goo goo gaga over it. And I don't know. I haven't really been attracted to watch it. I don't really like Jenna Ortega as an actress either. I think she's kind of bland and boring. I mean, she seems like a likable person, unlike, let's just say, like Emma Roberts in American Horror Story. I do not like her. But I don't know. For some reason, I'm not interested in watching Wednesday so far. I might still watch it, though, and I might have to redo this list. I don't really want to, though, because so I don't know. Whatever. If I do it, I'll do it. Or, okay, how about this? If I watch Wednesday, I will rank it in the Wednesday review video. So if I review the show, I will definitely rank it on this list. So, I am reviewing the new television shows that came out in 2022. I would say Safi, for the most part, would probably agree with this list, except for one of the things which we'll get to. So number 13 is Better Call Saul, aka Better Simp Kim, Season 6, B. So as if the first half of Season 6 of Better Simp Kim was already bad enough, the second half permanently destroyed the franchise. I'm going to have a hard time ever watching the whole series again. Either one, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. That's how bad this show was. The storytelling completely went out the window. It felt like at the last minute they changed the entire story to fit some woke agenda, and it really felt like that, like with the recasting of the cab driver. That whole story that was built up for seasons and seasons, poof, what a waste of time. What a trash story that was. Robbing people's houses, like, wow, that was a really interesting story. Not. Just so many, just the whole season basically, but the second half especially, spent on making Jimmy, the main character, look bad and making him look like a monster to the point of where they literally blame murders that he didn't have anything to do with on him, while also uplifting Kim, who is the female Chuck. and basically uplifting her, even though she's the one who's responsible for all this evil, all the stuff that was done to Howard, all her fault, completely, 100%. Jimmy is just a simp. He's a little bitch. He's a simp. He's a weak little fucking, I don't even know. And that's the other thing, too, is that the second half was supposed to connect to Breaking Bad. And I was really excited because they said some bullshit about how they were going to tell Breaking Bad from Saul's point of view. I don't know when that occurred because all I saw was a bunch of shitty-ass fan service that was disjointed and shoehorned into the show. It was absolutely terrible. Oh yeah, and then Lalo gets killed one episode into the second half of the season, which is also a huge disappointment. So overall, like, Better Simp Kim, it not only destroyed this show, but it destroyed the Breaking Bad universe. And I think it was purposeful, just so that the lazy writers didn't have to do anymore. Number 12 is Better Call Saul Season 6A. Yeah, that's right. I made sure to rank the entire season last, before anything else, no matter how bad other stuff was. I have to look something up to make sure I have that South Park. Well, we'll talk about that because I don't remember any of the episodes from this recent season, so I'm gonna have to have that because they were just so short and so. We'll get to that though. Anyways, the first half of that's user reviews. Okay, the first half of Better Call Saul Season 6. It's really exciting because you think that they're gonna stick to Kim becoming a villain, and you think that she actually starts off the season really good, and it's exciting to see finally she has a character. You know, she's not just as one commenter put it, she's not just a mystery box character anymore. She actually is firmly a villain. But no, they fucked that up. But basically, the whole first half is leading up to the final episode of the first half where Howard gets killed, and he has all these easy little sympathy points, you know, all these little, like, oh, my family, my wife, my depression, my debts. And so you kind of feel bad for him if you're like a gullible audience member who, you know, can't see that the writers are just really contriving this. And they turned Lalo, one of the best villains of the whole universe, they turned him into an idiot. They did so many terrible things in the first half, but the worst thing that they did was they made it boring. I mean, the worst thing you can do is make something that's boring, because I would never go back, like, even if I was forced to, I would fall asleep watching the first half of this fucking season. Like, there were these episodes, and it was so funny because these fanboys, they would make all these excuses for why these episodes were bad. And they would say, well, and they wouldn't have, like, any legitimate reasons. They would just say, you know, well, I actually liked it. You know, I actually thought it was amazing. And that was always the excuse. Like, you know that 20-minute sequence where Gus was walking around in the dark? That was symbolic for his paranoia. Like, that was the type of logic that they would use. But overall, it was terrible. You could see that they were rushing everything like usual. And it was everything that I feared with Better Call Saul's final season. I knew they're a bunch of lazy asses. They're going to rush this to an end. They're going to tell a terrible story. And then the reason why most of the episodes were boring is because they didn't want to create new story that would lead to having more episodes. So that's how far the laziness goes. Number 11 is MasterChef Back to Win. At first, I was kind of excited about, maybe this MasterChef could be more entertaining, more challenging, because all the people have done it before. But instead, it really became cringeworthy fast, because they had a clear agenda throughout the whole season, where they had this one guy, I can't remember Michael, and he was like this really throwaway contestant from a past season, and they brought him back, and he was like Alexander from MasterChef Junior Season 1. And then on the other half, they had Dara from MasterChef Junior Season 1. And basically, the whole season was a contrivance so that they could redo the MasterChef Junior Season 1 finale, but with different results, to where they just contrived it to where Dara would win, and it would be like this agenda show, this agenda winner, clearly. And it's so cringeworthy to watch this contestant who has no idea what she's doing. She looks like a deer in the headlights. It's embarrassing. You can just see, like, this is what happens when agendas come over talent. Number 10 is MasterChef Junior Season 8. Speaking of agendas, they did the same thing in this. So you had this. I'm not going to be mean to her, because I'm just criticizing the show and the people who make the show. I'm not saying that this little girl is a bad person, but the people who were in charge of this season, it was yet again about the agendas with these contestants. They had this very nice little Asian girl, and I should point out both MasterChef seasons had an Asian female winner. It was clearly an agenda. It was like painfully obvious, hitting you over the head. But if you say it, you're a racist and sexist. So, that's why they were so comfortable with doing it, because they didn't think anyone would talk about it. They were mistaken. So they had this girl, and she could not cook anything else except for food that she learned how to make when she was a kid. All she could cook was Asian food, because her parents own a restaurant too. And so it was like she was getting this pass through the whole season. And meanwhile, everyone else had to work on different standards. Everyone else had to struggle to get their wins and victories. She was just able to skate by cooking food that she already knew how to cook, and like she never challenged herself. It was terrible. The worst part though was that they had this other kid though, and he was a bully. He was a real piece of shit. I mean I'm not gonna talk about who's okay. We called him Mafia Don. And he was so rude and so bratty and so abusive to the other kids. He was terrible. He was mean. He was another one who didn't know what he was doing. And it was so cringeworthy, because they literally just kept him to cause drama and to have like a challenging competitor. Like he was terrible, and he caused all the team challenges that he would play on. All of them would be a loser if they would let him join them. And so it was so sad that they kept him. They kept Mafia Don until almost the final episode. What an embarrassment. And it got so bad. It just got so terrible that they had to kick him off. It was like they were forced to. And it's like, this is bad. Like, I don't know why he was allowed to be on this season just skating by. I despise that they let these contestants on these cooking shows skate by, because you can clearly see whatever agenda they're trying to do, and it's gross. Number 9 is South Park season whatever. And I say season whatever because what is it? Like, I can barely remember this season. I guess it's season 25. I'm looking at it on IMDb. I'm just kind of like... I mean, what? Pajama Day? The Big Fix, City People. Yeah, this was a really mediocre season. I mean, how is it even a season? It's only 8 episodes. Yeah, that's not very good. I mean, I was very nice. I mean, they weren't terrible episodes. It's just they're very forgettable. I will say the best one of the season is Back to the Cold War, and it's really hilarious. You know, you have Mr. What's the therapist's name? The guy who says drugs are bad, MK. What's that guy's name? I don't even know. The episode's all about him and all about how he's like trying to take them back to the Cold War because he's having nostalgia for the 80s, and it's a really good episode about nostalgia and everything, the kind of dangers of too much nostalgia. And there's this really hilarious scene where he goes into his bedroom and his mom is still home, and even though he himself is like in his 60s or 70s, and she's like, I kept your bedroom exactly like how you left it, and that was really funny. There was also a really good episode where it was about airsoft and teenagers, these shitty, mean teenagers, and it was basically like a remake of a King of the Hill episode where you also had these jackass teenagers who were causing trouble with Booby and the other kids. So that was okay, but overall this was a very mediocre season. Definitely South Park has gone down the drain. And you know that's bad because okay. Well, actually, wait a second. Why did I put... okay, I don't like that. Okay, I'm switching them around. Sorry, I'm pissed off now. Okay, the real number 9 is... So just ignore all that. The real number 9 is Beavis and Butthead's Reboot, Season 1. Now, this season... It started off pretty good, and it had some really hilarious episodes, but there were some really stupid little errors that they made to where they just could have made a couple little explanations, and it would have been good. For instance, they don't explain how they're watching YouTube on a television. They don't explain how they're like watching TikTok and all these things on a TV. It's not a smart TV. It's the same old TV they've always had ever since Do America, the movie, when they got a new one. So they never explain how they watch the videos. It made sense for the other reboot because, they're just watching reality TV on their TV. It doesn't make sense for this, though, how they're watching these internet videos. As well, it becomes another agenda show where there's some really painfully unfunny episodes. And part of what makes them painfully unfunny is that you can see that the male characters are all allowed to get made fun of. All the men on the show are allowed to get made fun of. But then all the women, any female character around, they're not allowed to be touched. They can't make any jokes about women, even on like these social media videos. They kind of refrain from joking at a woman's expense, and it just becomes so obvious that it's like, ew, it's like a Beavis and Butthead sausage fest, and it's shitty how, like, you can see how the wokeness has watered down comedy, and they've made it to where, oh, you can make a comedy show, but you can't joke about certain people, you can't joke about women, because they're never allowed to joke about women on this reboot, ever. So number 7 is Dark Winds Season 1. You know, I was really hyped up for this show because it's new, it's original. Well, I mean, it's based on a book series, but it is something I've never seen before, and I was really, really excited. I was really, really excited to see some, like, Native American culture and Native American folklore. Ooh. Don't pay attention to that, guys. I just, ooh. Heart. Okay, so Dark Winds, it was very confusing. It was very disjointed. It was too short. It was only like, what, 6 episodes? 6 measly fucking episodes. I mean, these fucking lazy asses with their fucking 6 episode seasons. I mean, it is a joke. It is a complete joke, the work ethic that you see today versus back then. Just looking at, like, Leave It to Beaver with fucking 39 episodes a season. It was a big disappointment for the most part. There was some good stuff in it. There was a couple of really good scenes. It just was another, like, this should have been a lot better. And the finale was horrible, because in the finale they rushed and they made the finale only like 30 minutes, which is another trend that I'm starting to see, is that you get to the finale and they purposefully shorten the finale like 1,000,000%, which doesn't make any sense, because it's like, this is anticlimactic automatically if it's short like this. To top that off, the main character in Dark Winds, he's always acting like he's falling asleep. He always acts like he needs coffee. He's a great actor. He's a very infamous actor. He was in Fargo Season 2. But he is just a snooze fest in this show. He's a terrible character. And he's supposed to be some iconic literature character, but he is just not it. And at the same time, he has this female deputy named Manuelito, and she's actually the best character on the show. She does have like a typical modern acting thing, though, where she only has this glare on her face, the scowl, which you see with a lot of modern female characters. They always have a scowl on their face because because they're trying to be like men. And so you see that in this show, where like the whole fucking season she's just scowling the entire season. But it's kind of like laughable, but her character is really good. And she had this really cool scene where she fights with a witch in a burning down house. And I thought that was a pretty cool scene. That was the Taco Bell gas witch. Number 6 is Chucky Season 2. This season had some promising elements. There were some really, really good ideas. In particular, they came up with a Chucky who was brainwashed to become good. And he was such a likable character. And then they did the cliche thing and they made it to where, oh, he's bad. He's always bad. He was just pretending. And they ruined that. And they had a lot of these great ideas. And they ruined them by rushing them to an end, or by having them come to an an unsatisfying conclusion, which was really disappointing. I really liked a handful of episodes from this season before it turned to shit again at the end. It was very confusing by the end, and there were too many stories going on at the same time. Not only that, but it also pushed more woke politics. You could just clearly see, like, the guy who made the show very anti-religious, so he had this really cringeworthy, goofy scene where one of the main characters, he's ripping pages out of the Bible, which I don't care, but it was just so obvious that it was like a fantasy type of scene, and that he thought he was doing something like powerful or moving or something, and it just came off as so ugh. Like, this is what I expected from woke Chucky. Not only that, but they go out of their way to make Glenn and Glenda into a non-binary. No. Sorry, but Glenn and Glenda, they're not non-binary at all. Never have been, never will be. So they ruined that. Terrible casting with that character. And that character's whole storyline. It was pretty bad. It was pretty pointless. However, it wasn't the worst thing. It wasn't the best thing. Just there's so much bad stuff nowadays that's how bad it is. Like, I mean, really, there's only 2 good shows on this whole list. All the rest of them have a million problems. Speaking of a million problems, number 5 is American Horror Story New York City. Wow. That was really, really bad. Another cringeworthy, woke agenda show trying to push gay shit in your face. And not only, it's like, who cares if they're gay? But they go out of their way to make it as graphic as possible. Meanwhile, the female characters, the little that there are, they don't have to do anything that the men have to do. And it's like, is this really the way to go? Like, there's this obsession with anti-sexualization nowadays where, women have to look like men, they have to act like men, they're not allowed to be sexy or have sex at all in a show or movie. They're not allowed to be naked. If they are, there has to be what they call an intimacy coordinator, which is probably the most useless job on the face of the planet, next to, I don't know. I literally can't even think of a job more useless than an intimacy coordinator. I mean, what a pathetic embarrassment that grown men and women nowadays, 2022, are so bad at acting. It's not even acting. Like, I mean, kissing is kissing. Like, standing in a set naked. It's like, you need somebody else to tell you how to do that? That's fucking weak. And yet, this American Horror Story New York City, it is so graphic. It's almost like offensive in terms of, I wouldn't want to be represented by this as a gay person. Like, if I were gay, I wouldn't want this to be what people thought being gay was like. Because the way that gay people are portrayed on this show, they're portrayed like they're all the same, they all dress the same, they all act the same. The way that police are portrayed, I don't like police either. But the way that they're portrayed on this show, it's just very stereotypical, one-dimensional. Past seasons of American Horror Story, they always have multiple layers to the characters, regardless of who they were. Just thinking about Freak Show, for instance. Like, I can't really think. There might have been like one or two characters in the whole season who only had like one or two layers. Other than that, all the characters had different layers to them. And so the show has really gone down the drain. Not only that, but they have there were a couple of good elements of the season. There was this guy named Gino, and he was so bad at acting. And it's funny because I said he acted like a pretentious theater actor. Well, apparently he's a theater director in real life, or a Broadway director. And he is very entertaining to watch, but he is so over the top, it is laughable. I mean, whenever he came on screen, it was always like, I'm getting ready to laugh at him, and just like completely just laugh my head off, even though they really want you to be moved by his performance. Like, it's almost reminiscent of that parody trailer in Tropic Thunder called Satan's Alley, with Tobey Maguire, and where it's like a fake gay BDSM trailer. That's what this whole season of American Horror Story was like, unironically. And they had this serial killer named Mr. White. He was a really cool character, actually. The actor who played him did an incredible job. He was very creepy. He was very good at his part. What was even funnier, though, was he was so tall. He was, like, taller than everyone else on the show. And whenever he just came on, it was like watching Frankenstein walking around. And they had this one really funny chase sequence in the hospital where he's just, like, going from room to room, and he looks like Frankenstein, and it's really funny. But then he gets taken out way too soon. They had a really cool backstory reveal with him, though, where it was connected to crime. And then probably my favorite character of the season, they had this like enforcer guy, and he was played by an actor who he's on like every season in some way or another, and he's a really, really good actor. And he was my favorite character. He had a great character who wasn't utilized enough. But then the serial killer gets killed. He gets taken out. And there's this really weird, cringeworthy agenda thing where they literally say that this guy was a serial killer because it was his way of showing gay pride. Oh, God. Like, imagine if someone had said that before this show came out, they would have been kicked off the internet. They would have been canceled, called all sorts of horrible things. But they said unironically in a TV show in 2022 that a serial killer killed gay people because it's his way of showing gay pride. And then the show ended in one of the most baffling endings I've ever seen. It was very effective, very heartfelt, but it was the ultimate cop-out, where all the characters on the whole show just died of AIDS. I mean, you just can't make this up. Like, you can't make up, like, how bad this stuff is. You can't, like... Everything has gotten so terrible and so bad that it's hilarious that you'd think that, like, it just of all the things that could have happened, it was basically them saying the serial killer wasn't the villain, it was AIDS that was the villain. And I have to applaud the AIDS virus because it was a great villain on this show. For the limited guest appearance that it came on. Number 4 is The Old Man Season 1. This was one of probably the most overrated shows that I watched all year. It started off with I would say 2 really good episodes. The third episode wasn't very good. After that, it just completely fell apart. It was marketed as an action-packed thrill ride, and in reality, nothing really happened on the show. Like, hardly anything. It was so weak, boring, dull. It was just not entertaining. And it felt like, these actors, they can't save this terrible show. And the story itself, it's a terrible story where it's just like, okay, there's this character. She's got all these freckles, and so there's this like running story about how she's mad that people call her Freckles. And so I came up with a nickname for her called Spider Freckle. And it's basically like this stupid thing where it's like, who's her real father? Oh, that guy's her father. No, that guy's her father. And it's just really bad. It's really soap opera-y. And then they have this other female character who, of course, that's another thing. It's another woke agenda show because the female characters, it's all about how they're being uplifted over the male characters, as usual. And then the male characters are all beaten down, humiliated, and by the end of the season, it's just, ugh. But it was very fun to review. It was very fun to make fun of. I can't wait to make fun of season 2 because I already know there's so many people they'll give anything an A+, and so they'll give all of season 2 an A+ as well. Number 3 is Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. This show, wow. I mean, it's yet another mainstream agenda story about Jeffrey Dahmer, the same old facts about his case, the same old BS, but this time they manipulated all of the facts and events so that they could, it's basically Dahmer, the BLM narrative. Like, it's basically twisting that entire tragic real life story and turning it into an agenda. And other than that, there were some good moments, I guess. It was mildly entertaining at times. Evan Peters gave a really good performance, although he did come off a little bit as a cartoon. And it felt like, I don't think anyone would want to go home with him because the way he's acting, he acts like a monster even when he's supposed to be acting like normal. So this was just very baity. It was a bait show, for people to talk about on Twitter and talk about how it's the greatest thing ever made. And what do you know? They're already going to make a season 2 because they just can't stop making serial killer this, serial killer that. And it's not even informative. It's not even like telling it as a good story. It's just exploiting it for the sake of exploiting it. And I'm sick of it. Number 2 is The Offer. This was all about making The Godfather, and it was a very inspirational show. It did have a couple of feminazi agendas in it, unfortunately. But the agendas were shoved in there so much that it felt like even the people who made the show didn't want to put the agendas there. It was like they were forced to. So I can't really fault the show for that. This show was highly entertaining. It was very interesting. It was very fun. I liked pretty much all the performances. The highlight being the guy who played Francis Ford Coppola. He did a fantastic job. It was really funny. As I said, it was very inspirational. I can't even begin to talk about that that angle with this show. Another thing was the friendship in this show. They had a friendship between the main character and then this gangster, and it's probably one of the best friendships that I saw the whole year. And it was a very cool friendship that ended very tragically. And so it was interesting, how they took real life and they molded it into a story. And, obviously a lot of it is just BS. But it was very interesting. And the star, really, by the finale, was this producer guy. And so if you watch it and you think the characters are acting a little too over the top, just wait until the finale, because then that character, he really becomes, I think I'm going to say, and I'm going to look it up. I'll look up the actor right now because I want to make sure that he gets recognized. Let's see. This actor's performance, who was he? Matthew Good is Robert Evans, Mr. Evans. This performance was the best performance that we saw all year, film and television. It was a fantastic performance. It was unexpected, because at first you think this guy, he's just a cartoon. By the end of the season, he is like a full 3D character, and he's the star of the show. He stole the show in the last few hours, miraculously. And so I would highly recommend this show. It was so good, and I would definitely watch it again. I don't know when I will, though, because I don't know, it'll probably bring up memories of a time period. Number 1 is Cobra Kai Season 5, which I know that's the obvious choice, but I can't help it. It is what it is. It's just that good. It's the cliche thing to say, this season, it had everything going against it. Because Season 4 was released at the end of 2021. So it was basically 2022 when people mostly finished it. They might have started it in 2021, but they probably finished it in 2022. But also, so this is the second Cobra Kai season we got in 2022, technically. But also, it started off rather poor. The first 2 or 3 episodes were pretty bad. Well, they weren't bad, they were just really, underwhelming. As well, it was another season that took place where you knew that there wasn't going to be a tournament at the end of the season. And the seasons without tournaments, they kind of feel a little bit like they're off seasons. It's almost like they're bonus seasons, we're not even supposed to see what's going on. It's just kind of like a added in thing. Season 3, definitely the worst season of the show. That's what it felt like with Season 3, was sort of this having fun in the summer, and it's just it's just not, you can't take it as seriously as the tournament seasons. But as the season goes on, it gets really, really good. And Terry Silver, he is definitely the best villain of the year. And he's the primary reason to watch the show. There are a couple of cringeworthy elements, though. In particular, I will say the water park race. That was a terrible, terrible part of the series. Probably the worst part of the whole series. The worst sequence. It felt so cringe and so teenage aimed, even though all these actors are young adults, and it was very babyish. It was very light, comedic. But by the end of the season, the show got really good again. I could not stop watching it. I was having so much fun. It was great. The finale pulled it off, and the finale was fantastic. I mean, there were some weak episodes here and there, but they really paid off in the finale. And the people who do this series, they're very good at pacing, because they're not going to rush things. They're not going to say, hey, we're not going to do more than 5 seasons because we don't want to overstay our welcome. Just talk about the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard. Overstay your welcome. I mean, that is the most anti-creative thing I have ever heard. And luckily, the people who make Cobra Kai, they agree. And all of there's so much stuff about this season to talk about that was really good. Primarily, how dark the finale was. You really thought a character was going to die. It was that serious in the finale, and it felt like, wow, they really took it to the next level. And then they had another character who escapes from prison. That was really epic too. That was really unexpected. Just very, very solid storytelling. Not taking itself too seriously. All the characters pretty much are likable. I will say, I'm not into Samantha. I've tried to like her. I have tried season after season. Season 1, maybe Samantha could be no. For betraying Robbie, or wait, who did she betray first? I can't keep up with these stupid love triangles. That was another thing. These stupid love triangles in season 5. Ugh. Season 2. She's okay. I want to like her. Season 3. I want to like Samantha. Season 4. I really want to like Samantha. But I can't. Season 5. Done. I am done. I am not going to try to like Samantha LaRusso anymore. I don't like her character. She flip-flops for the sake of the story. She's inconsistent. She's bratty. At least Tori, at least she's likable. Samantha isn't likable. But that's beside the point. The show is still the best show of 2022. I highly enjoyed it. I would definitely watch it again, for sure. So, please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of the TV shows of 2022. The new ones, that is. I'm not going to rank the old TV shows that we watched, in case you guys were wondering. And then please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.